On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Pam Herbert of Next Steps Motivation about the power of storytelling and how you can build a successful team. Hi there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and I am very excited to welcome an old friend to the show. Pam Herbert is the founder and chief energy officer, which is such a cool title, of Next Steps Motivation. Pam, thanks so much for joining me.
Kirby, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. We've done similar things in the past, and so this is pretty cool. So as I jump right into the questions, one thing I know about you is you've been a team builder in your career. What are some tips? Because that's tough. What are some tips to building a great sales team?
Well, Kirby, it's the thing. When you start out building a team, you have no idea if it's going to be great or otherwise, but you just give it your best shot as you go along. What I've learned over my many years, especially in the direct selling industry, that, when you start out, it's really important that you paint a vision for your team members. They need to know what's in your head. They can't read your mind. You can't read their minds. So by painting a vision for them, they have a sense of what their role can be or may not be on a particular team. As you're welcoming team members, the other thing that I've realized is that sometimes we get really anxious and we kind of try to push people to make the decision to join our team, or we pull them along by saying, now's the best time. It'll never be better. And I've learned that just isn't the best way to build the kind of team that you want. If you're pushing somebody or pulling somebody to join your team, it's not their decision. If they're hesitating, give them time, give them a little space, let them think about it, and then bring them on board when it's right for them. And as you're working with the team, and there's all kinds of stages, that you go through in building a team. But one of the things that I've always practiced, and will practice until they put me 6 foot under, that you never ask your team to do something that you yourself aren't doing or that you yourself have not done. Yeah. So if you're in a situation that you're asking them to, say, sponsor other team members, you better be sponsoring yourself. And if you're asking them to hold parties, by golly, you better be out there holding parties. Mm-hmm. So they need to be able to look to you and say, I understand why you're asking this of me. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing the same behavior that you're asking them, then the team comes together really nicely. And finally, what I've learned most recently over the past couple of years, social media is exploding everywhere, as you well know. And one of the things that I think that sometimes we overlook, social media is great, no question about it. Texting, awesome. Email, fantastic. But there's nothing like hearing your voice. There's nothing like picking up a phone and saying, great job, Kirby, thanks so much for what you did. So that live communication, I think, is what builds the foundation for a strong team. And when all those elements come together and everyone feels like they belong, that they are a part of this team, then you're on your way to greatness. So sometimes, you roll the dice and hope it comes up the way that you want it to. Yeah. But really just being in touch with your team, I think that's what brings it all together and creates that sense of greatness.
What occurs to me, Pam, is that the things that you're saying are not only about motivation, building a team, but it's about leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned about, not asking people to do anything that you won't do or haven't done, I mean, that's something that I've taken to heart as I grow my organization, is that, if you expect somebody else to take out the trash, you better lead by example.
You can be right there with the carrying the other bag.
Absolutely.
And out the door. Absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
That's great stuff. Now, obviously the company is called Next Steps Motivation, and, as a speaker and a leader, you know how to motivate. But what I find in leadership is sometimes, we have to motivate ourselves. Right. So how do you keep yourself motivated on a day-to-day basis?
It's kind of funny. It's like, who makes the shoes for the shoemaker and who motivates the motivator? Yeah. And first of all, I have to tell you that I am a firm believer. First of all, the company is probably misnamed, and here's why. First of all, I don't believe that you can motivate anyone. Motivation comes from within. And you're the only person who can make that decision to take action, because that's truly what motivation is. It's the decision to take action. I can inspire you. So there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Right. So to inspire other people, to give you some reason to want to take that action, that's really what my role should be. So actually it should be Next Steps Inspiration, right, but it's Next Steps Motivation. Honestly, how do I keep myself inspired? A couple of things. First of all, I look to the things that are most important to me. I look to the things that bring me the greatest joy in my soul. For me, number one, can't get any higher than this, Skyping with my grandsons. They're 3 years old and 4 years old. And as you know, Kirby, there are no filters for a 3-year-old and 4-year-old. If it hits their brain, it comes out of their mouth. I love their perspective on the world. I love just their insights into everything. So when I feel like maybe I'm just a little tense or not where I should be, I can Skype with my grandsons. I've also learned over the years that one of the places that I go to gain inspiration, believe it or not, is I go to the bookstore. I go not to the self-help section. I go upstairs to the children's section, and I sit down in front of Dr. Seuss. The man is brilliant. There are nothing better than his books for really just bringing it back home. They're simplistic. They have a fabulous message, and I just find myself smiling through all of it. So when I think about it on a day-to-day basis, really inspiration and then ultimately motivation, it's not only what you include in your life, but it's also what you exclude. And for me, that's negativity. I can't tolerate negativity. Seeing, even on Facebook and posts the woe is me and whining, I just check out of it. I can't deal with it. So the things, the drama, people that are just everything in their life is drama, I put them aside. And that might sound harsh and cold, but for me, you know what? That's how I keep myself centered. So I find the things that bring me joy, and I surround myself with them. And there are days when I'm not motivated. There are days when it's just like covers over the head. I think I'll stay here today. That's okay. We all have to recharge our batteries. The question is how long you recharge. You got to just at some point say, okay, I'm ready now, and get back into the game, whatever it may be. So it's fun for me to find new things, but give me my grandsons. I'm a happy woman, and I could probably just do anything in the world you ask me to.
Hey, you know what? It reminds me of Simon Sinek. Start with why, right? You figure out why. What is the reason you're doing something?
Exactly.
And then that's where you provide your inspiration or motivation. So yeah, I love that. So again, as a part of sales, and a lot of the people who watch the show might be in the sales or entrepreneurial lifestyle. I've found that the best salespeople are the best storytellers. I guess, do you agree with that? And if so, why do you think that's true?
I absolutely agree with that. And I have to tell you that storytelling is beyond a passion for me. And I don't know if you're aware, Kirby, or not. I wrote this book called Bulldogs in the Rain. Bulldogs in the Rain is a collection of stories. It's stories from my life that at one point I went, duh, there are business lessons in everything we do in our life. So storytelling, I think the reason that it's so effective in sales, storytelling's been around since the beginning of time. I mean, it's the best way to convince, and I hate that word in sales, but it's the best way to get someone to realize that what you're saying can actually happen. I can say to you, my product is the best product in the whole world, and it does 1, 2, 3. And you'll probably go, okay. But if I tell you, now, Kirby, there was a time when I did this and used this, and here was the result, you're going to buy into that a lot faster. We need common ground. Salespeople need common ground. Stories give us that common ground. And honestly, the bottom line is we're salespeople. We like to talk. There's nothing better than a story. So storytelling works in sales as long as it has a point and you get to that point in a relatively short period of time. So I'm glad you asked me about storytelling because I think it's one of the most fun parts of our business. Being an entrepreneur, I can tell whatever story I want. And you know what? Nobody knows if I've left out a detail or not. I'm the only one, so it's perfect for me.
And in many ways, you get to write your own, which is pretty cool, too.
Indeed, absolutely.
Well, cool. Pam, I really appreciate you taking the time. I give everybody 3 questions, and I give each person an opportunity to ask me one. Do you have one for me?
Oh, do I ever. You know direct sales, and that's how I met you years and years ago in direct sales.
Sure.
You know that it's also all about relationships and contacts. Now, in your current role as a marketing and communication expert, I want to know from you what steps would you suggest to someone who is either just starting their career, perhaps in direct sales or in sales, or someone who may need to refire their career, maybe it's lagged a little bit. What advice would you give them to capture the attention of potential new clients in today's world?
That's a fantastic question. I think, I guess the first place I'd say is bet on your strengths, right? So I believe that, when I got into sales, I remember when I would go to, in the promotional products world, I would drive to an industrial park and I would park my car and I'd go see people because that's where my clients were.
Right.
Because I want to go where the clients are. And in today's world, I think that's what social media has become. And so if I were just restarting, whatever, is I would pick a lane, the thing that I'm most passionate about, and I would then pick a social media platform and I would own that because that's where my customers are. Now, again, depending on what you're selling, it depends on which social media platform that I would work to own.
Right.
Because I think, if you're really good at writing, then maybe blogging is where you show that expertise. If maybe you, as you said about us, you like to talk, maybe video. Video has become so much easier and so much less expensive to do. Then, man, I would be creating a YouTube show. I would upload videos specifically to Facebook. I would utilize the internet, social media, to show people who I was, because people still buy from people they like, know, and trust. Social media just allows you the opportunity to do that at scale.
Right.
And I totally agree with you. You still need to hear a voice. You still need to shake hands. But one of my favorite things, I just said this the other day, social media will never replace a handshake, but social media has the opportunity to turn a handshake into a hug. And
Excellent.
so
I love that.
Yeah, so I think that if I were restarting that, I would say, and I try to be intentional about it, but I would really make an effort to become a presence in social media. And one kind of caveat to that is I wouldn't always be selling. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes we make in social media because people can turn you off. I always look at my social media, my last 10 posts, and go, okay, is it too business oriented? Because again, I want them to know who I am, and who I am is not just who I am in business.
Right.
It's kind of like when I speak in public, I tell people, look at your last 5 posts or 10 posts. If 4 to 6 of them can be construed as negative, you're a negative person in the eyes of other people. So I think that's what I would say is I would really hone in and really spend a lot of time trying to craft my voice on social media if that's what I was starting today. So
I think that's awesome advice, and I think the point you make that it's important that they get to know you as a person as well as a salesperson is really a key because it's relationships. I mean, we're talking via Skype right now, but you know what? There's a relationship there that started this years and years and years ago. So, and I love
not that many years ago.
A handshake into a hug. I love that. That's awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate that very much.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show. That wraps up another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy, and we'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching, but wait! Can you do me a favor? Please subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done it already, the way to do it's right over here. And hey, if you want to watch the last episode, check that out over here. Again, before you leave, subscribe!